Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for this introduction. I think you said so much about my person so that I can skip the next slide. Now, that I can skip the next slide because all the relevant information is here. I was really very lucky that I could start these study programs. And in the beginning, it was hard to get the authorities convinced that this is an important part of education. And then, but after a while, we thought that this type of education is very successful and our students after studying are very successful. So I'm very happy that I hear that you are here strongly working on lighting design and improving the lighting. And our education is somehow special that because we are not starting from the part of electrical engineering, which is a very traditional way to learn about light, electrical engineering on one side, perception questions on the other side. And what we try to do is to make a bridge between the space and the humans by light. And I think this will be somehow the topic which I will follow the whole speech, and you will hear these words about the bridge more often. This is the picture showing Tallinn by night, and we had the chance to go around in Tallinn during the day, yesterday afternoon, and also during the night. And it was very impressive to see how beautiful the city is and how strong the atmosphere is already developed also by night, also by light. We learned about the whispering light, and it was really great to see what is happening here in this town. And then I learned that you also now have a deputy mayor who wants to develop the Christmas lighting, and also this is something where you could see the wide view of to look at the light, because Christmas lighting is also including the seasonal and the cultural aspects. I was starting to open the view that it is so difficult to talk about light, to talk about public light these days, because there are so many new aspects like loss of the night. We will hear about this during the day, about the visual ambience, about the right of accessibility. A pedestrian perspective, we were talking for a long time, and the norms are also mirroring the perspective of the car driver. And we now learn that even that is not really mirrored in the norms, because the car driver are sitting higher now, and this makes norm people nervous because they have calculated the eyes of the car driver at 1.5 or 50 centimeters, and now they are 1.7. Everything is changing, and then they are driving less quick. Everything is changing. We have new mobility. We have a new experience of the night. We have a new way to live with 24/7. We are much more. Where is it? A little bit. We are much more present also during the evening hours, and especially here in Estonia, the darkness and the evening hours are playing a more important role compared to other countries in the world. I prefer to stand in the darkness, if it is okay with you, because it's a little bit glary. So we have, as I said already, we have the light, and the light is the bridge between the space and the human. And this is important to to think about every time, because if there is no human, there is no light per definition, because light is the visible part, the seen part of the electromagnetic spectrum. And then you have the space, and without a space, there is also no light, because we can't see the light itself. We see the light which is reflected from somewhere. Or the direct light source. Could you reduce it a little bit, because my glasses are old ones and I have some problems. Okay, so then I try to put all this together, and this is because I'm a teacher. I try to put all these influences together, only talking about the quality of light, and I try to sort it up. But what I want to show on this slide first is the little white words which are written. What are the sciences which are influencing the quality of light and the quality of the lighting design, which is biology, physiology, physics, optics, architecture, cultural sciences, behavioral sciences, and psychology. And every part of these sciences is influencing what lighting designers are doing. So it is difficult to handle this and to work as a lighting designer. So I want to lead you through this process of lighting design for public spaces, because this is something what we are, or what could be helpful for further on thinking about light and doing the design process further on. But in the beginning, the question, what is a lighting designer? I like this. I don't know where the student found it, but since I have seen it, I like it very much, because in the public, in the family, everywhere, the image of the lighting designer is not so clearly defined. And I like this very much, because I have the feeling, talking with technicians, they every time think, oh, I'm working like this when I'm talking about light. But in the end, it is a summary of everything that a lighting designer tries to shape the light. Nothing more than shaping the light. This is the task of the lighting designer. And why shaping the light? Because the light is shaping the space. And if we are shaping the space, we are also influencing, we are shaping the behavior of people. And we are giving the chance of well-being if the light, the space, and the behavior of the people is coherent, is working together in a way. Then we could also feel well. So I think you have seen lighting design is a complex problem. And a complex problem makes it and it is not possible to solve a complex problem in a way that you say this is the only solution. Every time there are other solutions for a complex problems, and this means that you can't say that the solution is right or is wrong. A solution of a complex problem is every time only good or bad. But this we can say, and there is normally in a group with a similar education and similar viewpoint, the same judgment about it. Another point is that there is not a possibility to take a solution, I have done it there, and I will do it in another city, in another place of the city, with the same result. You can get inspired from your further work, or you can also get inspirations from everywhere, but in the end, there is no sample solution for a complex problem, because the complexity is everywhere a little bit another one. We will learn about this later, what I mean with that. And the main thing for the lighting designer, if you are designing and if you are trying to find a solution for these complex problems, is that you are able to understand what you have done during this process, finding the solution. And it is very important that you know what you want to solve. So you have to analyze the task very precisely. And you can't think that the client will give you a brief which is clear enough that it is helpful for the whole design process, especially in lighting, because especially in lighting, the client is normally not educated enough, let's say it. I think we have some people here don't feel, but I don't want to criticize your education, but normally there is not the right view on light as a lighting designer should have for finding the solution. So you have to describe the task and to analyze the task very good. And there is another point, if you are solving complex problems, that there is no stop rule. So you are going on and having new impressions, new inspirations, and you never think, now this is the optimal solution I can find. And therefore you have to have a clear task description, you have to have the possibility to follow your solution process, and then you can say the new inspiration is not really a better one, because in this or that position of my process I have excluded things like that. So if we are talking about light, we have also to think about light quality, and light quality, to define the light quality, I think it is the main part of the design process, because light quality for every task is not the same, but it is composed by the same parts. I was on a congress shortly before I came here, and there was a speech talking about the recipe. What are the ingredients of a good lighting? And yes, I think there is no recipe, but about the ingredients we can talk. And again, I'm coming to this graph, and I want to lead you a little bit through this graph, because this will be helpful then for the design process. The first thing is that there is an individual context where we are thinking about the one who is perceiving the light and the visual task that you are going to look at something, that you have to find maybe an objective on the street which could harm you or something like that, so that you can have this dialogue between the things you want to see or you should see and the person. This is very individual, and this individual part is also influenced by the abilities of the individuum. There are elderlies, there are younger people, but it is, if you are focusing on that, then you are forgetting that there is more, that according to this close to this individual part, there is also a spatial part where I will talk later on. But the individual personality, the variability of the quality of light is influenced by individual possibilities to see. This is very good described. This is very good researched, and you will find a lot of information about that. And this is also a process which you can do more or less automatically with software to get good results for this part. And this is talking about the individual characteristics of the person, the variability, and then the functional light and the visibility. But this is only one part, and you can already see that there is another part, the spatial part, because if we are thinking about light, if we are thinking about urban lighting, then we have also to think about the space where we are doing that. And the space is very important for getting a comfortable situation, for making the beauty of buildings somehow visible according to the materials we can find and so on. And but the main thing is that the space should be seen. And we are very often using light which is concentrated on the horizontal part. And if we have nothing, no light on the vertical elements, then it is not possible to create a space. That makes it very important if you are talking also to it makes it very important to create, for example, the identity of a place, to make the place recognizable. So we have to have a good lighting with good technical elements. It should have no glare, it should have a good color rendering, and so on. And so that the space is described very well. And then we are coming to the last part, to the social part, because we are not alone. We are also talking to other people, we are seeing other people, we are fearing other people, we are enjoying other people, but we get also information from the space. Also, cultural informations are given by the space, especially during Christmas time, when we have when the space is developed by light in a way that we have a really new inspiring surroundings. So we are talking about the narrativity of the space. We are talking about that the light should tell something. We should use the symbols we have in lighting to create an atmosphere. And we can also read the light, and we can also use the light in an intuitive way. For example, that if there is a bright situation, that we are used to go to this bright situation and not going into the darker areas. So there is also a social context, and I tried to bring all this together and to divide it again in these three parts, in the social and the spatial context, so that we have the light-related quality criteria, which are individual, which are space-related, and which are social. And this example, we will see more of that, but this example shows, I think, a very good combination of these three parts. But there are also overarching criteria which are like the sustainability, like other non-human stakeholders, like the insects here. So there are financial problems, sometimes technical problems. These are overarching criteria which are not directly talking about the light, but they are influencing our possibilities. I want to make this difference very clear because these overarching criteria are very often used as a killing phrase that you say, because of financial reasons, I couldn't do a good light. Okay, financial reasons are very important, but still it is possible to think about the quality, the light-related quality criteria, and maybe there in the optimization process, it is also possible to join these or to find a bridge between both. But it is not, it is an overarching problem, yes, it is overarching, but it is not light-related. So, and if we are talking about sustainability, this is a slide from our dynamic light project we did. If we are talking about sustainability, there is also the possibility to take the problems or the principles you have to follow if you want to do a sustainable design to develop or to improve the quality of light by combining it, for example, with dynamic technology. There is an improvement. I wanted to show this very early thing, which it is the lighting I did together with Peter Andres some years ago. I don't know where it's running now by themselves. I did this with Peter Andres, and what you see is we want to create a very nervous facade. So this is not because we were not able to do something else. We want to have this, let's say, nervous facade because this region, when we did the lighting design, was empty. There was no one. There was really no one going there. It was dark and empty. And we want to create something so that from far it looks like activity. And we were doing a lighting design which was also uplighting. And I had not such a good feeling with that. But if we are now doing uplighting, we are doing it very close to the building so that there is no destructive light. And this is now 20 years, nearly 30 years later, where we have the possibility to make a good lighting with certain quality without disturbing the dark sky like we have done it here. So the overarching criteria and the light quality related criteria are playing a role together, but in your mind you have really, for my opinion, to think about that they are different problems. So it is not excluding a good quality solution if you are having some rules from the overarching criteria. So now coming to the design process, and the design process is some creative, as we have seen in the beginning, is a creative part. And we are starting this with the analysis, with the data mining, with then going on with modeling, with the consolidation, and then coming to the detailed design, conceptual design, and so on. So this is the process which I'm going to describe further on. And I was getting these wordings like modeling or data mining from people who are thinking about the design process for software. And this was for me very interesting because they are looking very close to the task and they are trying to understand the problem from the task, from the user side, and then coming back to the design process, coming back to the final result. Okay, this is the wrong direction now. Okay, data mining. Data mining, we have so many possibilities to get data about the city where we are working. We have a lot of data which you can find in the internet. You have so much information. You can make your own observations. You can go out on the site, or you should go out on the site. You should try to put down what you see. You should try to look what are the people doing there. When are they doing this? Why are they doing this? Is this behavior related to the light? You could look, is it empty in the city because there are no shops open in the city in the evening? Or is it more because the atmosphere is not attractive enough? You can count a lot of things, you can estimate a lot of things, you can try to connect a lot of impressions and try to bring them down. And I think a very simple sketch could be more helpful for your design process than doing a very high number of photos. But this is related to everyone, how you are able and willing to get informations about your situation. And you can find also the possibility to talk with the people, asking them what, when, how often, what are the challenges, what are the advantages, and so on. You can also find in the literature catalogs about a questionnaire what will be interested talking about the space. For example, this is from landscape architecture, a slide where you could see the influencing of placemaking. And I marked the light-related ones, and most of them are light-related. So it is also interesting to look in other ways to look at the space than asking people, how do you like the light? I think this information is not so helpful for developing a new lighting. There are a lot of stakeholders where you have also to think about, a lot of stakeholders like the users, but there are also the politicians, there are also the urban planners, investors, the flora and fauna. So a lot of stakeholders which you have to respect or where you have to get information from. A special part of data mining is also to work together with the inhabitants to have the participation process. It is also interesting to look at the existing luminaires and at the existing lighting, also to describe the task where it is needed to make something better. Especially for master planning, it is very often made to say later on the energy consumption is going down, or this or that aim is fulfilled, and therefore you have to analyze the situation, and you can do it in different scales. You can do it very close to the site, or you can look at the city level on that. And then all these informations you got is difficult to use if you can't put them in models which help you to develop a basis for your further on design. And there it is really helpful to work with these three categories: the individual context, the social, and the spatial context. And for the individual context, you can use usage scenarios, you can use requirement profiles, temporal processes, thinking about seasonal changes also. And you could put down this in graphs, in charts, much, for example, functional zones, you can very good map. But you can also try to make groups of stakeholders, for example, because pedestrians have other view possibilities and visual needs than bicycle drivers. For a meeting place, there is another situation. So you can group also the main purpose of this. So it is the functional zoning. You can do it in a way that you can identify problematic zones and develop from that special challenges or specific challenges, and then also develop from that specific requirements. You can do it like that. It is very open how you are doing the modeling, so there is no clear strategy how to do the modeling, but it is important that you find a strategy to sort all this material you found and to make it light related in the next step. For example, here it is the zoning by usages, and this is done because later on it was needed. It was taken, this zoning, also for the basic inspiration for this project. Zoning by lighting, you can see here with the school where we have a different lighting in the end, according to the time, according to usage areas, the time of use and the different uses areas. And this is now very old, 2012. We played around with the first different color temperatures in lighting. And the same process, the modeling, you can do with spatial questions like connections, like room edges, like the eye relationships, materials, proportions, landmarks, zones with similar structure and function. There is no rule how to put this down. You can do it like Scratch, like here. You can do it also very schematic, like it is done here, only looking for different, describing important parts of different zones. And you can also look what is important, for example, here, the connection and the entrances to this area, and then some very specific and important elements which could be part of the design, and also special challenges, like you can see on the right-hand side, where is a special spatial area, a special alley. And on the social part, you can also model things with thinking about area of influences, social interactions, social hierarchies, identity-creating objects, important objects, and structures. So all this could be then somehow, or for the social question, it is also important to put this together with persons to make it more stakeholder related, which could be very helpful. But you could also get historical informations and put them together to maybe the historical needs for some or historical information which could be an inspiration or important for your further design. And if a region is very often used, like here as a fairground, which is a special identity for this situation, or Christmas lighting again, then it is really a good possibility to work with. Then we are coming to the process, to the next step. We have to think what is important for our task. We are still in the task finding situation, and we're thinking what is important. And if we are looking at these quality describing wordings, then we could say for this is more narrativity, symbolism, atmosphere. This is for this situation most important, thinking about the beauty and maybe also having some intuitive use for that. Another situation, another importance, another way to organize and to think about the task. And then you have done that, and you have done that alone or maybe with your partner in the design, and you were discussing that. And then it is important to think about what would be the users, what would be the task, the stakeholders think about our ideas, about our optimizing and looking for the importance. And there it is good, also somehow architects are doing it, so by thinking, but the software developers are doing this really with a clear part that they are thinking, I'm now the uneducated software user, and how would I react on that? And trying to build these persons in your mind will help you to criticize your decisions. Designing is decision making, and designing is also to criticize the decisions you have made so that you can see that it is a very clear thing. And so you are able in the end to describe the task. Then if you have the individual task description, you have to prove whether it is right. You have to use the personas, you have to use your brief you got from the client, and you have also to think about standards and other binding informations. And then you could describe your task, that you get all these informations and try to describe what is now important for my design, and how is it possible or what are the elements I can use for solving this huge number of individual parts of this task. You should respect also the overarching criteria. And in the end, it could look like that you would have a lighting which should decrease crime, which should produce safety, and so on. And you see a lot of things, you want to create identity, and so on. And in the next step, you have then to think about what is the light-related thing. And so you can have objectives and you can have measures. So for this task, it was the lighting for the power plant in Frankfurt Oder. It was the objectives. They wanted to celebrate their new power plant. They want to create positive associations. They want to have to show that the power plant is constant ready. They want to talk a little bit about the function of this place, and they want to create a positive image. And so what now the lighting task developing after all this process was that the illumination allows that parts of the power plant are visible from afar to be experienced in the evening. The volumes that comprise the facility are differentiated so that you can see the whole power plant. The fill level of the heat storage tank will be shown, There is a slight dynamic lighting to show the activities, and the orientation of the lights is only slightly brightens the sky, only by reflection, so there is no direct light going into the slide. And the spectral distribution makes it possible that the impact for flora and fauna is reduced. So this is then somehow included into this concept, which is then developed according to this brief, and this translation of the brief into something what you can do with light. So now the point of designing is that you have somehow to find your concept. And you are sitting in front of your task description, and you're sitting front knowing the direction you want to work, and now what could you do? I think during all this analysis process, during all this process of structuring the task, your brain was already working, and it was inspired to get solutions which could bring you to different ideas which could be tested. For example, this is a student mock-up in Wismar for the 𝗧𝗵cie𝗺𝗀, which is a prominent building, and the students were doing something. This is not a solution for illumination of the 𝗧𝗵cie𝗺, but it could be somehow an inspiration. Is it possible to work with colors? How much light should be there in relation to the surroundings? And if you're working there with some luminaires, it could give you an inspiration. And you must not go to the site. You can do it also in similar places somewhere, and you could think about maybe also special elements like light under a bank to see what happens. You can check what is about the possibility to see the faces, possibility to see the faces enough. And you could also look into the standards. You could try to get the inspiration from typologies. It is not only something, a standard is not only describing a solution, it is mainly describing the problem. So here you have to have the possibility to recognize the pedestrians very good, and the conflict of cars and pedestrians are very well described. And you mustn't take this solution, but you can have an inspiration. Yes, there is a conflict, and what can I do to show that pedestrians shouldn't be hurt? Or maybe there are other solutions, and if you're going around, you will find a lot of solutions. These conceptual ideas, these inspirations, you could put down then in very abstract drawings. So you could take here, it was the inspiration were coming from the landscape architect who said, we want to show the Gothic curve, because a Gothic city has every time this curve. They have no parallel walls. They have this curve, which is important to create a space typical for Gothic cities. So the landscape architect said he wants to show it, but there was no real idea for him to do it because he was working more on the plain area. So we said, okay, why not illuminating the houses on one side where the curve is in another way than on the other side. And also the street, and using different color temperatures for that. And in the midst there is a river. This concept was agreed, was very well done. Then it was working with facade lighting extra facade lighting we were using, not using only the street lighting, which is reflected as it is shown. Also, this was an inspiration for this project. And in the end, we did things like that. Here it is still going to the sky. Finally, we were looking for a solution. We were not going to the sky. We were trying to make the illumination in a way that we have the street lighting, and we have also some luminaires for illuminating the facade. It was a very early project for doing this differentiation. I saw it later on also with in the one before with the brick facade. We had to create the luminaire. It has to be made, handmade by the producer. Here later on, this is a little bit later, we could get already from 𝗧𝗵cie these possibilities to show the facades and to illuminate the street from the same level. The inspiration, you remember, was to show the Gothic curve. Unfortunately, the idea to work with two different color temperatures, the city refused because they said, no, it's not possible to store them. Then the electricians will mix them up and then we have a mess. We use one color temperature. This was before LED. There was a change much more needed. And then, yeah, mainly you see the result is according to the sorts. It was somehow the first time in the same 2009, this was a little bit earlier, there was a competition, and for 𝗵𝗶𝗹𝗱 Street, and this was won by Schlotfeld Design, and they were thinking in a similar way that they wanted to make a design which is working with different light for different functions, for different requirements, so that the light could be more requirement-oriented. And then it took around 20 years to the realization process. This is still a render, and this is the final result. And now we have LED, and they were keeping the same system because they had the inspiration. We have to do so many different things in 𝗵𝗶𝗹𝗱straße, but we don't want to have a lot of different luminaires doing this and that and mount it on the facade and everywhere. We want to combine this in, I think, a number of 9 poles for the whole street, and therefore they were developing this system. So the inspiration there was differentiation, different task profiles combined in one luminaire. This is student work, similar way to think. They were dividing the Alexanderplatz in different functional zones and also then trying to develop a different lighting profile according to the different requirements. Another inspiration here was the need of storytelling. We had the task, again, a power plant, we had the task to tell that this is now a clean power plant. Now it is working with gas, not with oil anymore. It is very clean. It is using the warmth which is normally wasted, using this in this big storage. It was quite new in that times, and also producing their own gas on the plant area with this green biogas part. So white and clean, the chimneys in the colors of the company, and then the heat storage, which can change a little bit the intensity of the red. And you see from far that it is a clean part for producing the power. And we had a lot of problems because I thought, is it really good to give so much light to a power plant? And in the end, it came out that, we thought the clients of the 𝗧𝗵𝗶𝗍𝗂 would be unhappy, saying, we have to pay so much for electricity and you are wasting it in your plant, which was not true. It was less than they used before for illuminating their signage. But in the end, people loved it. And they wanted really also to extend the lighting where we were thinking not to have it. Another storytelling thing, no, it was a placemaking thing. This was a development in 𝗧𝗵𝗍𝗂 in Germany, a city from the 60s, built in the 60s, and it is looking very, it is not very atmospherical. And they wanted to have a nighttime atmosphere, and the inspiration was placemaking. So we were everywhere thinking, how could we define this, the space that in the night it is somehow special, but also somehow connected. And there was a lot of efforts we were doing to do so. And we were showing this to the urban planners, and they were very pleased about that. And then we were showing it in a bigger round, and I made a very important mistake. I were also showing the analysis, and in the analysis I was saying, and here you can see the lighting is not sufficient in the moment. I thought this is a good argument for the technicians to go on with lighting, but you could, you are smiling, you could think what happens. The technician said, our lighting is sufficient. Go home. So this is not realized. Another, it's not from our side here, the inspiration was to show the use, to show the function, somehow the social part, by having a light which is color changes according to the event. So the event is giving the inspiration, and the colors of the football teams are then showing in the luminaires surrounding. If you have found a concept somehow, you have to do again the proof. You have to discuss with yourself and also with stakeholders, if possible, if this conceptual design, if this idea is really leading to a further on process. And there you can work with these personas. I don't know whether this batch was working on that. No, you're not recognizing it. It's a slide from students, and they were really trying to make this task description, and then looking for the personas and looking for the concept, and every time understanding what is the opinion of the personas, and therefore they are also describing the personas for themselves very clearly, and making this 64-year-old Peter as their example of an elderly user of the city. And then the next step is that you're coming to the detailed design, again the personas for checking, and then you're coming to the detailed design. And I want to show you some projects we have done in our office. Again, the analysis and the inspiration. It is the center of the city where I live. We have this nice steam tram you have seen, and we have again the idea to make this space visible, to make visible that there is a follow-up of different spaces which is somehow connected by the light during the night. We did then some calculations and conceptual design, and in the end, I think it is very good visible that we want to develop a promenade on one side where the row of light, like a row of pearls, is going alongside the street, and the buildings alongside the street are also illuminated from the public lighting in a way, as I have described already, that here is the street lighting, and in this cylinder there is also a projector mounted, and this projector is illuminating the facade. And we are not illuminating the facade in a private way, so there was also a private illumination for this hotel. Luckily, they were not using it anymore if the public illumination was switched on, because they liked this more than their lighting they had before. This is a possibility to control the appearance of the public space if you're doing also the lighting for the houses from the public lighting. And what you could also see is that these luminaires are lighting up this hotel in a way without using complicated optical light projectors or so on. It is only by going very close and very from the sides to the facade that there is no problem inside the hotel rooms. Again, this row of pearls going on then in the other direction. And what you can see here is another lighting for the surrounding buildings, and there is also a square, a square in the midst, and this square is also lit from the sides by some projectors in addition to the street lighting. And also some monument is lit, and this gives a certain identity for a group of people who love this musician. Pictures of the luminaires. And having this in mind, the inspiration for another park there was that we don't want to have so much luminaires in the park. We wanted to reduce the number of luminaires, and so we had only 7 luminaires, I think, in the whole park. And also there, integrated in these luminaire with different cylinders, there is also 2 projectors which are illuminating the whole facade very nicely without any glare for the people who are in this building. And nearly no glare for people passing by. In these cylinders we have again projectors, and these projectors are illuminating more or less precisely the pathways. And for not being glared going on the pathway, there is every time a position where you are crossing the light from the projector. Then we were making the luminaire bigger by using some net in the cylinder. You can see it outside. There is an example of this net, which makes the light bigger and reduces then the glare of this. But I think we will learn everything about glare later on. And another project, you have already seen it. It is talking about the surroundings, about the architectonical space. It is talking about the areas which should be lit, because these are the walking areas and one crossing. And you have also then the monuments. Translated into this I have shown already. And the inspiration was from this postcard, where I was adding in the postcard some new luminaires to think about, could this a direction to work with. Rough sketches to show what is done. We are only illuminating the entrances, and because the entrances are illuminated, then the eye can adapt if you're going this pathway, and you see already in the midst then the pavilion, which gives you a vertical ending point. We have seen it yesterday very fine in this park, which is now newly done, where you have then in the ending the building, so that you'll never have the feeling to be in the darkness, because you can see the park. Some conceptual work and calculations, and then in the end the conceptual design. And this is then how it looks like. You see that photographers are taking the pictures very early, but you can see that the illumination of the pavilions here, it is better to see that the illumination of the pavilions give the bright aim, and the way from the sides through the park feel not dark. There is a little bit light under some benches, but only at the areas where most of the people are walking, and marking the center. As you can see here, the center is marked. There is also a fountain, but I don't want to illuminate the fountain, because the fountain is brilliant enough if it gets some light from the sides. And why are we working here with an illumination which is telling somehow the stories about lanterns? Because these pavilions, the whole park is 250 years old, and the park was created in a time where people came to this town to be amused, and this was the center of the amusement. So there was, in every evening, there was somehow a party on this park. There were prostitutes, and they were using lampignons, they were using this type of luminaires everywhere. And so we were putting also a colorful component into these luminaires, so that we can change it. It is not that we can change it according to the seasonal and the events which are happening there in this park. And it is not really programmed now, but in future it will be that according to the season, according to the time of the day, it will be possible to make slightly differences, or if there are festive event, also to work with colors in this park. Not randomly used colors, it is fixed on the colors of the sky when the sun is going down. Another element we were trying to have the lighting for this pier in a way that people on the pier are not disturbed with their view out, and trying to get nearly no light into the water, and keeping the light on the pier. And then, if you have done all these things, there is also a technical realization process. If you have done the detailed design, you have to find the right technology, you have to fix the control of the the timetable for the control you are using, and then you're doing the final proof, and then you're coming back to the task and the task description, and with this task description, then you are able, together with the personas, to understand whether your design and your technical solution is working. And one hint is that we should learn from the automotive industry. These pictures are now 10, 15 years old. And if you're looking what they promised in that time and what you have in your car now, and when you look what they will promise for the cars in future, where the light is giving informations a lot, then you can see that our technical possibilities to follow our ideas and to find solutions which we really like are increasing incredibly. And the process is not at an end in the moment which we could think LED is everywhere. No, I think the public lighting will change in the future, but what 𝗏𝗺cie was describing, what the good lighting should do, is very inspiring still, and it is somehow poetic. Visual beauty is perceived by an interplay of all these three kinds of light. You all know it: ambient lighting, focal glow, and play of brilliance. Three kinds of light, through one is usual dominant. You remember, you have to put your task description and find out what is dominant, what is important. It is therefore of the first importance to plan lighting, whether you are creating a new structure to interpret an idea of a house and a home, whether you are altering and so on. So that you have, in the end, a view of light which is holistic, which is trying to implement the whole scope of quality criteria, and not forgetting the overarching criteria. So lighting design is a complex problem. It is possible to find a solution, and the traceability of the design is the possibility that you can follow the optimization process. And I don't know, in the end, I'm showing a small film from Frankfurt oder Stadtwerke, where you can see how this movement and this lighting will be visible, hopefully, this autumn. Yeah, so this was my presentation, leading you through the design process. The film was showing the conceptual idea in a very early phase of the process, and I'm open for questions. And thank you.